as a follower of Jesus, how can I healthily engage in a healthy way in social media? And actually, Chad just completed his doctorate in social media and technology and whatnot. So we'll give you the last word on this. But Beth, why don't you kick us off? What are some things that, some things you'd say with respect to engaging in social media?
Yeah, this is really hard. I think I'll just hone in on two specific plagues that I see even in my relationship with social media, but also in teens, and just kind of ask you to just set some guardrails with these two issues in particular. One is just the comparison game. I mean, we're all aware of it. Earlier I was talking about how Gen Z really loves authenticity and vulnerability, but what I find ironic is that that's very rarely what we see on social media. And we just need to be aware of that when we enter into it, just recognizing that most of what we're seeing is kind of the perfectly polished story or photo. I actually read an article not too long ago that said the average teenager spends 12 minutes perfecting every selfie before they post it. And so it starts with lighting and background, and then they take several different shots, and then they have to edit it before they post it. And at first I thought, well, 12 minutes doesn't sound like that long. And then I thought about how many selfies they're posting. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's significant. And so that's what I'm talking about though. That's not authentic. That's not real. That's putting our best side forward, right? And so I think we need to think about that both for ourselves, like what are we posting and why? What is it that we want people to see or believe about us? Are we trying to make people covetous of what we have or the story that we're telling? So maybe we need to not also, but we need to be very aware of what we're seeing and how that's affecting us as well. And so if I'm looking at somebody's posts or pictures and I'm starting to feel jealous or less than or something like that, or just ungrateful, it's time to step back and take a break and just admit that to ourselves. And then I think the second plague is, I'll use the term confirmation bias. Well, a lot of times we go to social media because we're specifically looking for sources and people who will affirm what we already believe. We have our opinions and we have, what we think, and we don't want anybody to tell us differently. And so we'll go to social media to find those people that will say, you're right. And that's all we want to read, and that's all we want to engage are the people that are telling us that what we're doing is okay. And that's super, super dangerous, especially for young people. And so I would just ask you to be bigger than that and to be bolder than that and to actually step back and admit to yourself if that's what you're doing, and to seek out people who might say, actually, no, here's a different way to look at it, or here's a different way to think about it, or here's why you shouldn't be engaging in that behavior or that thinking. Find those people, start following them for a while, and then maybe actually have to confess, hey, I wasn't as right as I thought I was. So those are two plagues that I see that are a big problem. And so I would say just step out, admit it, acknowledge it, and start to put some boundaries up for yourself before you even enter into social media if those two particular things are things that plague you.
That's good. Gosh, that's so good. Those are both great points. And, I'm not sure how much I could really add to that. You talk about the inauthenticity of social media, which is a good word for it. Instagram in particular allows us to do two things to our life that are very weird or very unnatural. So Instagram allows us to edit, first of all. And by edit, I mean, you don't put every selfie on Instagram. You don't put everything on Instagram. You carefully curate and choose only the images that you want people to see on Instagram. So you're editing your life, and you're also filtering it. So even the things that you put on social media, on Instagram, they're not, even those pictures aren't the authentic thing because you're editing this. So you're presenting a picture of your life that is edited and that is filtered. But here's the bait and switch that social media does. Social media takes that edited, filtered image, and it allows us to think that that's actually our life. Or if that's not actually our life, that's the life that I should be leading. And what's really dangerous is when, and it's especially true for teenage girls, is what I found in my research. So you go on a site like Instagram, you see the life that other people are living. You see, oh, well, she looks so good. I mean, look at her hair, everything's just great. Oh, and she's with that guy. Oh, and they're out tonight too. And what I'm here at my house just doing nothing but scrolling through Instagram. So now what's happened is I've allowed the edited, filtered version of someone else's life to make me feel worse about the life that I'm living. And this is why too much engagement with social media, again, and I don't know exactly why this is the case, but especially for young women, too much engagement with social media does lead to, and it's documented, it leads to higher cases of depression, of anxiety, of loneliness, you know. And so I'm not one of these people, and I would be a hypocrite if I said I'm on social media, and I'm on social media a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of these people that says, no, thou shalt not be on social media. I think there are some valuable things about social media. I don't think it's the devil, whatever, but man, it's dangerous. It's super dangerous, and it can be very addictive, and it can change our understanding of reality, our understanding of ourselves. Social media in particular encourages, think of it this way, when you watch the news, what sorts of things do they put on the news? They don't put stories on the news about a dog biting a man. They put stories on the news about a man biting a dog. Because why? Because that's weird. Like that never happens, right? Yeah. So that's what we see on the news. But that's what you see on your social media feed too. The things that get likes, the things that get attention, those are the outrageous, the polarizing, the extreme, right? And so the more time you spend on social media, the more you are being disciplined and discipled towards the extreme. So you talk about confirmation bias, that's exactly what happens. So we see the hot take, we see what, and that changes our understanding of the world. One more thing, and I know I'm supposed to be quick.
You're fine, man, it's gold.
So I'll give two pieces of advice.
Well, no, one. I'm just kidding.
One thing, and I'm trying to cultivate this discipline in my life. Again, the reason I studied this at the doctoral level is because I recognize my own tendencies, my own struggles with this. But Matthew, you kind of mentioned something along these lines when you were talking about George Floyd. One of the things that social media beckons us to do is to post as quickly as possible. Everything becomes a postable moment. So even sitting down and enjoying a cup of coffee, you can't just enjoy a cup of coffee, you gotta post it. You gotta, so everything's postable, everything's shareable. My life is lived constantly in the public eye. That's not healthy. It's not healthy. And especially when there's issues and events happening in our lives, it encourages us to have the hot take, the quick take. And so often that hot, quick take is just wrong. It's undercooked and it's extreme. And so I just encourage, like, slow down. Slow down your posting, take a breath, take a beat. Allow things to happen in your life that are unpostable, that no one else gets to see. It's just a private moment. Reclaim your sense of what's sacred, your sense of what's private. Not everything has to be posted. The other thing that I'll mention too is social media is awful at dehumanizing people. So we strip away their humanity and all we see is their post. All we see is that Facebook post, that Twitter, that tweet, that Instagram. And so we strip people of their humanity and we only see their post. And what does that do to us? That allows us to treat them basically with dispatch. We treat them as objects. We yell at them, we scream at them, we fight with them, forgetting that they're a human being made in the image of God. So slow down and resist the tendency to dehumanize people through your social media.